Two severe flood warnings have been issued in Aberdeenshire, as eastern Scotland continues to suffer heavy rain. The Scottish Environment Protection Agency, Sepa, has issued severe flood warnings for Inverurie and Kintore and said some evacuations had been advised. Police are advising motorists in some areas to only travel if essential. Aberdeenshire Council said it was dealing with an escalating emergency response situation. Aberdeen City Council said the River Don had reached the highest water level on record. Council officials advised those living in lower residential areas near the river, particularly those in the Grandholm area, to seriously consider evacuating their homes. Sepa said properties at risk of flooding include some already inundated earlier this week, particularly in the village of Port Elphinstone. Aberdeen Airport was closed after a hole appeared in the runway. Repairs are being carried out and flights are being delayed, with some diverting. The hole, in the touchdown zone, was said to be small and believed to have been caused by heavy rain. A spokesman said it had now temporarily shortened the runway to allow smaller aircraft to take off. In Huntly, 21 residents have been evacuated from the Meadows Care Home near the River Devon and 25 residents have been evacuated from the Woodside Care Home in Aberdeen. Floodgates have been closed in Stonehaven where residents fear the River Carron could burst its banks. Roads across the region are affected by flood waters, many are closed but police say drivers should exercise extreme caution across the northeast. Aberdeenshire Council reported more than 24 school closures and changes to school transport for pupils due to the adverse weather. There are currently no trains running between Aberdeen and Dundee. Police urged caution on the roads, especially in the Deeside, Donside, and Mearns areas, due to surface water and floods. Fyvie in Aberdeenshire has recorded its wettest January on record. Just 1 week into the month it has seen 144.8 mm, 5.7 in, of rain. Glenbervie Primary in Aberdeenshire was closed after being badly damaged by strong winds and rain. It suffered damage to its roof as well as flooding in classrooms. The river has reached the highest water level on record. An Aberdeenshire Council statement said, "There is a possibility both the Devon and Banff bridges may have to be closed for safety reasons and road conditions throughout the area are changing rapidly, with a significant number of road closures and difficult conditions in many places. Sandbags are being deployed to affected areas for collection. People are advised to stay away from flood water and not to take unnecessary risks." Rest centres have been set up at Inverurie Academy, Kintore Community Hall, and Mackay Academy in Stonehaven. The A90 has been reduced to 1 lane each way at Stracathrough and is severely flooded at Brechin, and railway lines are currently impassable between Aberdeen and Dundee, Aberdeen and Inverurie and Aberdeen and Inverness. The local authority has requested that any employees who are able to help in Kintore or Inverurie should email banfanbuchanemo@aberdeenshire.gov.uk. A mother and her children were rescued from their car after it got stuck in floods in Killiecrankie on Thursday at about 9 o'clock. Firefighters smashed windows of the BMW X5 to reach the family. In addition to dozens of road closures across Tayside, many more roads are only passable with care. Police Scotland has said drivers should exercise extra caution when travelling on the roads. Deputy First Minister John Swinney said, "The situation in Kintore and Inverurie and along the River Don in particular is extremely serious, with severe flood warnings now in place. The impact of this latest round of flooding is causing transport difficulties and putting properties at risk of flooding." The Scottish Government's Resilience Committee is monitoring the situation very closely and we have discussed the unfolding events and work to mitigate the impacts and ensure the safety of people in local communities. Heavy and prolonged rain is expected in the Grampian and Central, Tayside, and Fife regions. An amber warning for rain, issued by the Met Office, is in place, meaning there is an increased likelihood of weather causing transport disruption and delays, as well as interruption to power and the potential risk to life and property. Yellow rain warnings for rain are in place for the Strathclyde, Highlands and Eilean Seor, and Dumfries, Galloway, Lothian and the Borders regions. Additional yellow warnings for snow and ice are in place in the Strathclyde and Dumfries, Galloway, Lothian and the Borders regions. Snow is expected to fall on Thursday night on ground above 200 m across the far north and most of Grampian. It is expected to exacerbate already difficult travelling conditions on higher road routes. Richard Brown, head of hydrology for Sepa, said water levels around the River Don in particular were pretty exceptional. He told BBC Radio Scotland's News Drive programme, "We have had a gauging station up at Alford for the last 42 years and it has exceeded anything we have ever recorded. So that water obviously has to work its way downstream." Peak levels. The saturated conditions across Aberdeenshire, Tayside, and Angus mean there is a likelihood of significant flooding overnight on Thursday and into Friday, Mr. Brown said. Prolonged heavy rain during Wednesday night and throughout Thursday has caused river levels to rise again, with peak times expected to be late on Thursday night and early on Friday morning. Mr. Brown said, "We do not issue severe flood warnings lightly, and clearly doing this is really giving a good indication of what is to come later on this evening. We don't expect river levels to peak until the middle of the night, so things will continue to deteriorate. The warnings will be in force for as long as is necessary. It is very unlikely that any of these will be stood down overnight. It will be tomorrow before we begin to see some improvement in the situation." He added, "The one perhaps saving grace is that some of the rain at higher levels is coming down as snow and these freezing levels are going to drop through the evening. But the water has to come down at some point."